Welcome to the SNR Podcast, where freedom for the mind, body, and soul takes center stage. We're here to break down the system, expose the truth, and inspire real change. From the state-national movement to uncovering how the government's just a corporation, to diving deep into the Federal Reserve's hold over the world, we're here to give it to you straight. But it's not just about exposing corruption. We're also bringing you the tools to heal with meditation, breath work, and natural healing practices that help elevate your life. We're loud, we're edgy, and yeah, we're funny as hell. Steve's got jokes, Kenny's got the research, and Ashley's keeping us organized, while Gwen's here to inspire both the young and the wise. This is the SNR Podcast.
He had said, but yeah, it's like all the beginning where it tells all about it, you know, how they got us to start paying, because you know it's only for federal employees, and then
correct,
you know, we agreed for the war effort. We're like, hey, yeah, of course, let's save the country, and then they're like, psych, bitch.
Then they just fucking left it there. I tried to dig up as much information as I could about the IRS for tonight's show. A lot of the stuff I've been sitting on for like several years. So I think it'll help. I think it'll be good. And I really, really, really want to see a lot of people start to take advantage of this. I'm shocked, and I know I'm being shadow banned on Facebook, and they deleted my old account.
Well, if you talk about Jews, dude, they don't like that shit, Steve.
And I hit Jews hard.
Bro, that's like the worst one, because they're one of the bigger controllers. Because you have to think about a regime so powerful that it convinces people that they're God's chosen people. That's a lot of time.
I'd like to point out, I don't follow this all that much in terms of like Jerusalem, God's chosen people. I don't get into all that shit. What I do know is that the folks who are in Israel right now are not the original Israelites.
No.
It's not. It's the imposters. So anybody wants to argue the fact that I'm shitting on Israel or the people who live in Israel, though, get it through your fucking head. Those are not the chosen people.
Yeah, they're not. No,
nope,
sure
they've moved on.
Nah.
I want to show you something. Speaking about Jews, I put this up today.
Speaking about Jews. Oh, shit, I can't even see that.
Oh, it's got two glass jars, mason jars. One says a swear jar. It's got like 75 cents in it. The other one has got like a couple $100 in it. It says telling people about Jews when I wasn't even asked.
Well, it's the Zionists. The Zionists trick the Jews. Some of the Jews are just stupid, and they're like, we're the chosen ones. But yeah, it's actually the Zionists.
That very well may be, but the people that are currently inhabiting Israel have been banned from 110 countries. So
yeah, there's some fucking evil people. I saw some old grandma, and they were questioning her, and she's like, they should just kill them all. And I was like, how the fuck do you lose your humanity? Like, yeah, kill them all. Yeah, and have you seen they're busting out it's already been a while. It's called the Hannibal Directive, and it's where all those cars were burned. You ever see that part? They showed a clip of when it's like August 7th or whatever, that bullshit happened, October 7th. I forget the date.
October 7th, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's when the event happened, right? Where they flew in, boom, like, get the fuck out of here.
So fucking staged. You mean to tell me the Iron Dome could pick up and kill a mosquito, but not a Palestinian on a kite?
Bro. No, well, there's this thing called the Hannibal Directive, and all those blown up cars that they show was actually Apache helicopters, and it was done by their own military, because the Hannibal Directive said, look, we don't want our people or our soldiers going to be hostages, so it's just better if you kill them now so they don't even become hostages. So because of that directive, the soldiers came out in Apache helicopters and blew up all their own people. And that's what they did. That's what the soldiers are snitching them out on. They're like, we killed our own fucking people. I was like, so you're saying you're doing this to protect them as you kill them? I was like, these motherfuckers are tricksters.
They're fucked up, man.
Yeah, they're just evil.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever convince me that A, Israel is our greatest ally, and B, this will go out to my friend Nate that I mention frequently on this show. Why is Tom Massey the only senator or congressman without an AIPAC handler? Why?
Yeah.
Did you happen to see the video that came out with Matt Gaetz talking about how the lobbyists work? How they bribe you while you're having breakfast?
No.
These lobbyists, what are they doing on a daily basis, like a day in the life of a lobbyist.
What the lobbyists do, like a lobbyist would wake up and then go to a breakfast where they would hand members of Congress, $1,000, $2,000, up to $5,000, and they for their campaign. And right as they're delivering the money, they make a specific ask. Congressman, we really need you to sign on to this amendment. We really need this bill filed. And they go around and do it. And it was just, for me, like when I first got there, before I swore off the money, it was hilarious because it'd be like, we are Lockheed Martin and we'd like you to support this weapon system. And then like the next group would be like, we're the Cannabis Association of America. And I just brought together the weirdest of people. So that's what they'll do in the morning, and then they work the halls throughout the day with staff members who hope to one day become lobbyists, saying, we were there for the breakfast fundraiser, and your member really said they'd sign on to this letter for us or institute this amendment, and then they would extract those demands. The other thing that lobbying firms have figured out is you don't even need to use the campaign finance system if you hire people's otherwise unemployable family members. The number of spouses and children of members of Congress who become lobbyists is astonishing. Like Senator Richard Burr, a former senator from North Carolina, his wife and son both became lobbyists. And he was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. So how would you feel if your interests were adverse to the people who were paying the chairman of the Intelligence Committee's wife and kid? Do you think that they had special persuasion skills, or was it their familial relationship that they were monetizing?
Let's get rocking and rolling. So, folks, welcome to episode 9 of the SNR podcast. I am your host, Steve, here with my mentor, my I don't want to say my first in command. I mean, let's just call this what it is. This is your ship. I'm just a maintenance guy. So Kenny is with me. I miss the girls, by the way.
Yeah.
I miss having the girls on the show because the way Gwen keeps me in check is fun. Like
they were supposed to jump back on when we were going to go through all the different paperwork, but like they've just been busy, and yeah, it's just they just stay busy. They work harder than me, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie to you. My wife works harder than me too. So I don't.
The girls work really hard behind the scenes. Nobody really knows what we're always doing, but Gwen, she's like the one always. She has some knack for figuring anything out when it comes to computers, formatting. Like she knows so much stuff about just like things people wouldn't even know. Like you could tell her to go do something on a computer and she'll figure it out real quick. Like,
that's a unique skill, man. That's
yeah. I can't do it. I've tried. I was like, I could do this. I'm fucking smart. And then I'm like, oh.
I've gotten much better at it. I used to hate technology, but you realize you have to be able to navigate your way through it.
Yeah, for sure.
So tonight, we put together a fucking amazing show. We really did. So what I want to do first is we had gone through the last few episodes kind of recapping, some of the names of the documents you get when you join State Nationals Rock and kind of what they do. So I'm just going to briefly go over the next couple. And Kenny, if you're looking at what I sent you for the outline, I printed up like the transgression fee schedule and some of the verbiage, because what we haven't done yet is we haven't gotten into the actual language that we use on these documents in terms of calling out the government, the fraud, and how we repudiate that. So the next set of paperwork in this process, piggyback off of episode 8, would be the notice and warning to all agents and officers of the de facto government. Kenny, what do we want to be? We're not a de facto. What should we be?
De jure.
De jure.
Yeah.
Which sounds a lot like the mustard I have in my fridge, but that's Dijon. Those two totally different things.
It just means right, like right or correct. It's like the correct law or the right law, and then de facto is just like false. It's just not true. It's without fact. De facto.
So I want to just read, and again, I don't want to give away the farm, so I won't go into too many details.
Give away the farm.
All right, so I'm going to read to you just a little clause at the top of this page, just so you guys can get, for anyone who's watching and listening, you've heard us talk about the documentation, things like that. Those of you who've joined, big shout out, thank you, congratulations to taking the first step to reclaiming your birthright and your freedom. Anything, Jonathan, Trisha Miller, Everyone from the Men of War Crucible that I presented to last week, you guys are terrific. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your little community there, that brotherhood. You guys are great. Thank you. John, I won't say your last name in case you don't want it out there. Kenny, this is the gentleman I'm going to meet with at his office on Saturday.
That's cool.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah, for those of you who follow us, I had, Kenny, in the past 10 days or so, some very amazing, unique interactions and possibilities and opportunities that dumped into my lap. And it's kind of been like between work and the show and doing what I can behind the scenes for State Nationals Rock, I feel like I'm going 155 miles an hour right now because
well, you are.
it's been coming fast and furious, and that's not a sexual joke, but it's so to everyone that I've been in contact with, everyone that's reached out, everyone that's signed up, I love you all. Thank you for the support. Thank you for everything. So to capitalize on that momentum, I'm going to give you some of the actual language that we use inside of, this is one of the templates that we use, the legal affidavits, just to give you an idea of how we word things when reclaiming our rights. So this is the notice and warning to all agents and officers of the false or de facto government. Per my lawful counsel, I, Stephen John Barty, retain all of my rights given to me by God and reserved as per UCC Code 1-308. I'm going to pause right there. Kenny, is that not the same UCC code that I put at the signature line on the W-4?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Through the supremacy clause of the Constitution, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the supreme law. Once these treaties are brought into the light, you must obey them or face the consequences. So, and this just kind of goes over, like, there's a sequence of things that I'm kind of attesting to. And again, these are all affidavits. These are all, sworn under the penalty of perjury. So there's that one. Kenny, why don't you take the next one, number 2?
I don't think I printed that part out, dude.
I'll do it then. Don't worry about it.
I didn't. I got the part after that because whenever I saw it was the fee schedule, I didn't. I
that's fine.
It, so I don't know where I put it. I have this particular part, which is after that.
Okay, all right. So
I'll read this one.
All right, you can do the fun stuff. I'll do the shit that like. All right, I'm gonna do the palate cleanse. You could do the dessert. All right, I'll be the lemon sorbet for this meal. So the document after that is called the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act.
Yeah.
Line A says this mandatory notice is provided to all territorial United States district, state, and county courts and to their officers, their clerks, bailiffs, sheriffs, deputies, and employees, and to all municipal appointees, including their district, state, and county courts, and to their officers and employees. I want to point something out. When you're looking at this, you can see how some are capitalized, some are in lowercase. That's because when you're dealing with the state of, when you're dealing with the incorporation, there's different versions of you and of them. So we have to make sure when we're drafting these documents, I shouldn't say we, when Kenny, Ashley, and Gwen drafted these documents, that you really want to make sure that you capture all versions of these fraudulent entities. Am I saying that right, Kenny?
I mean, yeah, because it's just being able to show them by name, show them who are they, who are we referring to, and a lot of people don't know that there's a difference, and that's what the incorporated state is. That's why the illusion's so strong, because that's how they fund, that's how they extract the finances out of us, because of that incorporation of it all, everything turning into business, where people think the state does need to do business, of course, but why do we need to be the fucking business is the question. Like, Why are we on the chopping block just because they wanted to cheat back in the day? And now we're stuck in this perpetual cycle of getting cheated and they're cheating. Who's going to come out and tell us? Because if a politician does it, well, I can tell you he'll disappear. So that's why it has to be more of a collective awareness, cracking it open and coming together. Because I know that there's good people out there that know what's happening, but they could never say it. They just couldn't. No. If they did, they would literally be deleted. And you wouldn't make it off. They wouldn't shoot the corner of your ear. It wouldn't work like that. You would you would be gone. So the goal is really to get a mass education so that people could come together as a whole. That is what a constitutional republic is, and that's what we're actually trying to do, is to bring back the education so that people can come together and be like, look, fuck this. We're done with this. No more slave labor. Like, we're done, bro. And then, if we do that, golly, we'll change everything. Like, that changes everything. But
And I got a question. I think it was yesterday. It might have been today. Somebody reached out and they're asking, are you nervous that by putting yourself out there via the podcast, by, sending these affidavits to these federal agencies, the IRS, are you concerned that you're putting yourself out there for some type of ridicule or arrest? Yeah, I guess there's always that concern in the back of your head. There's always that real damage that could, come on to me and my wife because we went through this process. But at the same time, there is a huge spiritual piece to this. And I can't help but think that me finding you, the people who are now finding me, it feels like there's something much bigger taking place. And I think this is just one piece of the grand awakening that's taking place across the country. And I also think that for the amount of taxes, and we covered this a few episodes ago, there's 97 taxes the average person pays throughout their day, week, month, and year. We're not paying one of those 97 taxes. So the impact that we're having in a negative fashion for the federal government, it's non-existent. So I don't know that it would be worth the IRS to try to come after us for some type of civil penalties, or look, at this point, everything we own is in a trust, so we're protected in that regard. So technically speaking, we don't own anything. We control the trust that owns everything. So yeah, it's a very good question. It is something that crosses my mind from time to time, but I don't think about it. I don't worry about it because I feel as though I've positioned myself where I'm prepared if it does happen.
For things like that, there is little glimpses of different ideas that people get as you go through the journey. And one of the things I found was a guy that does this, right? He does this exact thing. He guarantees people, you don't have to pay the income tax. Number two, he guarantees this. You won't lose your property and you won't lose any assets and you won't go to jail. This is his guarantee, right? He goes on shows and tells people this is his guarantee. He's from Iran. His name's Payman Morning, and he has a Freedom Law School. He charges 10% of your income to do this for you. And if he can tell you it's a guarantee and he can do it for you for the low, low price of 10% of your life, then you can do it. Like, how the fuck is he out doing this if it's not possible? The thing is, he has his own niche. He has his own methodology, and he's doing it with guarantees. He says, like, anytime you get contacted, he responds for you, too. You become a part of the group. He even claims that Sherry Jackson went to jail because she wasn't a part of him, which
that's not true.
I don't believe at all. But that's what he says. He says that he helped Joseph Bannister, which I saw what happened with Joseph Bannister. And Joseph Bannister was actually just had the Bernhoff law and got a superior. He got a superior on the stand, and that's what caused Joseph Bannister to win. So I didn't see the truth in that, but it doesn't change the fact that he has that website, charges people 10%. If you don't have an income, the minimum fee is $3,000 and you can join. So, there's a lot of stuff about that, but there's also, there's so many pieces where they say it's voluntary. And I think your friend just sent you something that says it's not voluntary, but then we have all the IRS commissioners saying it's voluntary. So which one is it, guys? And, the real, what it comes down to, what does it come down to, Steve? Where did it start? How did it start? Right?
Yes.
And if we get there, that's what everybody's missing. Where did it start? How did it start? If the Americans knew that, they would be so pissed. They'd be get rid of that shit today.
Yeah.
But the history's been removed. The knowledge has been taken. We're all overworked. We're like, we got to get to the second job because they keep inflating the fucking dollar and sending it to Ukraine. I'm like, dude, how much more does it take before we're like, okay, guys, we're not going to be peaceful with y'all no more. We're sick of this shit. I don't promote that. I promote just knowledge because if the people get together, that's the power. You don't have to fire one bullet. You just need the people. And that's really what we're trying to inspire. So I don't promote violence in any way. So FBI, we're not going to be messing with me. But it's because I know how they are. They're like, oh, got him inspiring violence. Go shoot him. They're like, got him. They're like, that's how they are. That's literally how they are.
A lot of my confidence in this process and a lot of why I went through this process is because once you learn what your birth certificate, what that process, what it ignited, what it started, and that there is a way to revoke or repudiate that. Okay, fine. And then again, we have all the self-authenticating evidence. And then one of the things we're going to discuss when we get to the IRS piece of this episode is an individual that I had an unbelievable conversation with this week. I don't want to give it away yet. We'll wait to the end of the show, and I'm going to go, meet with him and his staff in his office.
With credentials, right? And the
Correct.
dude has...
Correct. This is someone who works in the tax industry who validated and actually pointed out an error that I made in terms of me still paying state income taxes. And I'm not obligated to. I didn't know that. A tax professional told me this. So we'll get into that. I promise I will bulldoze through the rest of this. So everyone that's sitting there trembling, waiting for the, what do they call it? A coup de grace? What is that? Coup de grace? Is that the term? Am I saying it right? I'm not French.
No, I think it's coup d'etat, but I'm not sure. I can't, that's something I'm not really familiar with, that term, but I know what you're talking about.
It's like, don't blame us.
It's like coup d'etat or something like that.
Yeah, like
right?
it's just like the crescendo, like the finale. Another word I don't know.
Shit, I may be getting that wrong. I may be getting it wrong because I thought you were talking about like
by the way,
where you go overthrow somebody or something.
Oh, that's a coup.
Yeah, a coup d'etat. That's what I was trying to say. So I was way off, bro. Just so you know.
Okay, so bottom line is neither one of us know what the fuck we're talking. Let's just call it the finale.
The finale.
All right. So the next set of paperwork that we have on record is claim of damages and a transgression fee schedule. Kenny, I know you don't need the paperwork in front of you to talk about this because your daughter is going through this. Gwen is going through this. So why don't you tell them? And I printed out all these pages. Essentially what this is if our rights are violated, these are all the financial violations and sanctions we will seek when a public official violates our constitutional rights. Yeah. So Kenny, why don't you give them a little background on that?
So, okay, there's a thing called qualified immunity that happens with all people that are in a public position, whether it's an elected official, like a county clerk that refuses to record your documents, or whether it's a police officer, right? They all say, well, I have qualified immunity. But if you can prove that they violated their duty, which would be like their oath of office or your constitutional rights, if you can prove that they violated it, well, that removes their qualified immunity, but you have to prove that they violated it. The way you do this is by putting them on notice of what's being violated. Hey, you're like, for example, your First Amendment auditor, you're going into a public place to record, like you see, I think my favorite one's this gentleman called Long Island Audit. He goes everywhere, tremendous job. He goes into record in public places. Typically it's like a courthouse or it could be a county clerk's office, and they always kick him out. But the law, the Constitution says that they're allowed to record in a public facility. They're 100% allowed. You just can't record someone's personal information. So what happens is they come out, he informs them. This is where it starts. Like if he didn't know what to say, it wouldn't be the same. You have to know what to say to put them on notice that they're violating and they're about to lose their immunity. So whenever they say, hey, as my First Amendment right, I can record here. And they say, no, you have to leave. He's like, I'm telling you, I'm going to, press charge. I'll do this or whatever. He's informing them of his rights that are being violated. And then they continue. That's where they lose qualified immunity and that person can be sued. You can't say I'm liable for the law and you're the supposed to be the sheriff or the cop and you're violating the law. So if I'm liable for the law, you can't claim ignorance of the law. That's how it works. So now because they violate his rights, even though he put them on notice of it, they lose their judicial immunity. That's where that fee schedule comes in. And if you were to notify them of the fee schedule, you put them on the notice, you show them that you're going to sue them for these particular rights violations because those numbers come from cases. That's where those numbers come from. Typically, there's like a case that matches that. And that's where you get the numbers. That's where you're supposed to get the numbers from, because if there's already a case that's been decided, you can use that as a form of saying like, hey, this is what I'm using. And that's just how it works. That's how case law works. Yeah. So once they lose that qualified immunity by violating your rights knowingly, because you have to put them on notice, and then they continue to violate your rights. So once they do that, then you can sue them for that. And that's basically what it is. And it doesn't matter who they are. Now the problem is, a lot of these officials they're finding out don't have oaths of office. Correct. This is how they're getting around it. So I saw there was a pretty big lawsuit going in against all the big officials, like the main top people, like don't have oaths of office. So if they don't have an oath of office, people have to understand that the oath is what binds someone to uphold your constitutional rights. Without the oath, there's no bond. There's no rights protected. They have no obligation, not financially, to uphold your rights. So that's why having a bond and an oath of office is so very important. And that's why people request it, because if you don't have it, you ain't going to uphold shit. Yeah. Because if you were and you were constitutional, you would make sure and have your oath and have your bond, and you'd be a good old public servant like you're supposed to be. But, a lot of times they're in it because they get free insider trading. Why not? I mean, why else would they offer that? Shut your mouth. Here's your free insider trading. Just run these slaves amok, hit them with as much taxes, fines, fees, and make 100 new laws so we can make some more revenue.
So at the bottom of this, thank you for that explanation, Kenny.
Sorry, it was long. My bad.
No. That's exactly what I was expecting and exactly what I wanted. So at the bottom of this document, there are several affirmations that we make. Okay. I want to run through these really quick and really pay attention to the listeners, to the verbiage that we're using. So number one, I, Stephen John Barty, am a man, I almost said woman, am a man of God, because you have it with like highlighted, you can get rid of the W. All right. Yeah. Am a man of God, a living soul of flesh and blood, of sound mind, intelligence, and of competent nature, the creditor, beneficiary, and holder in due course of the trust. Am an honorary member and proud descendant of we the people, as creator and arbiter of the government. Am not one artificially created by the government, such as a citizen, person, or resident. It is my estate and the estates of my fathers and grandfathers back many years, as I am alive upon the land. I am the holder in due course, the rightful beneficiary. I have previously repudiated my U.S. citizenship via an affidavit to the Secretary of the State of the United States, wherein I was born upon the land. I am a state national, a bloodline American, one of we the people of these united is lowercase states of America. Again, I am not a U.S. citizen, but I am a state national as described in United States Code 8, subsection 1101A21, with limited diplomatic immunity as one who created government as per the Geneva Conventions. As a non-resident alien, which, by the way, that's what I am in terms of my payroll department. They have me listed as a non-resident alien. I am a non-resident alien to the District of Columbia. I want to break that down. Non-resident alien means I am not a resident. I am not beholden to the 10 square miles of DC, and I am not a government-created entity anymore. Alien means, when I say alien, people think, what are you from? Another country? No, I'm alien to the 10 square miles of the federal jurisdiction of Washington DC. Yes. So a non-resident alien simply removes me from the jurisdiction of that 10 square miles. So I am a living man. I stand on the land. I do not live in a filing cabinet in Washington, D.C. somewhere.
Yeah, that's how it is.
So as a non-resident alien to the District of Columbia and the International Monetary Fund, my estate and or trust is a tax-exempt foreign estate or trust.
That's cool. I have a video that shows how the IRS pays the tribute back to the Crown of England. Well, it shows the breakdown of how they do it, how they take the IRS funding and they funnel it back to England, to the Tri-City state, the city of London, and they funnel it back as a tribute, because that's what all this shit's about. We owe from the war debt, and then we owe from allowing the Federal Reserve in. So it's crazy.
This next piece, Kenny, if you could dig that up, Sarah, and send that to me, I'd love to cut that into this video.
I'll send you the video. I have it. I was about to make a video about that because I've been wanting to do it.
I'll tell you what, why don't you make your video about it, and then I'll put your video in this. Okay, I'll edit it into the show, and I'll just release this later in the week.
Okay, I'll make it. I'll make it after this.
By the way, I was very impressed from the phone call we had last night, and then the time you sent me that video you made with me today. First of all, I was blown away. Thank you very much for the shout out in the video. But the fact that you put all that together from the time we spoke last night to today when you sent it to me, I showed it to Brianna. She's like, "Does this fucking guy sleep?" I'm like, "I don't think so."
No, it takes me a while too, because you know what's crazy, Steve? I'm not allowed to download videos. If I do, my dubbing is off. This is something that they do to mess with me. So what I have to do every time I make these videos, I have to screen record each thing, and then I have to go and edit it all out. It's crazy, because if I don't do that and I just download it from whatever they've done to my devices, it always comes with my dubbing off. And I wish I could tell people and they believe me, but my family knows, because I'm like, dude, I can't even download videos. I have to screen record them. Isn't that crazy? Fucking crazy, man.
Fucking government.
I know.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, seriously. Hello, feds. Hello, fake Jews. Okay, so this next blurb is a summary of congressional record from June 13th, 1967, pages 15641 to 15646. So you can go and look this up. It's congressional record. It says, and I quote, "A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as a co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the PCT, which stands for the Public Charitable Trust, the Constructive Sestecuvi Trust of United States, Inc., under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the USA and the USA, Inc." So you could literally, and again, I'll try to I'll edit this into the video as well. Summary of congressional record, June 13th, 1967, pages 15641 to 15646. They're literally telling you that you are a dead vessel lost at sea, that our trust, we're the co-trustees, they created it fraudulently, and our labor is what pays back the debt for the 14th Amendment as a U.S. citizen. So this is in their own language. So, and again, I want to point out, and Kenny, you can correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but I think I'm right. In order to skirt being sued for fraud, the federal government, Congress, what they've done is they've created this remedy. This process that we've gone through is the remedy for this fraud. So someone had asked me one time, like, can't you just sue the IRS or sue? You could try. I don't know that you want to go against that machine and stir up that hornet's nest, but at the same time, the remedy exists. We're living proof that it exists. So this is fraud. We're telling you the remedy, and that remedy, because it's out in the ether somewhere, they don't have to tell you where it is. They don't have to tell you what it is. They don't tell you how to do it. It just has to exist somewhere. Yeah. So thank God somebody figured this out. But we are the living proof that there is a remedy for this. Okay.
For sure.
So anyway, I won't go into any more detail with that, but that is at the tail end of our transgression fee schedule. Some of the other things here, it says, it has never been my intent to become a U.S. citizen as defined in USC 8, United States Code 8, Section 1401. It has always been my intent to be a national as defined in 8 USC Section 1101A, subsection 21. Kenny, you've talked about that multiple times. It has never been my intent to be listed as domiciled in the District of Columbia, nor to be treated as a resident of the state of, and you put whatever state, temporary. So a resident, by the way, by their own definition, means you're temporarily there doing business.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Yeah.
You know those definitions, 1101A, they say that pertains to certain groups, right? Only certain people can claim that. It's like...
It's like the Samoa Islands or like
yeah. So the whole thing is to show intent, right? Because they don't give us that out, that was the closest out we could get to claiming the nationality as self-determination. But as putting it as a whole and doing the entire process, it works because we're able to attach it to the passport, and the State Department, because they're not opposing our affidavit, we're still able to claim that nationality, even though they didn't fully open it and say like, all those different, like the small islands, they didn't put all of the republics on there listed too. There's just no other way around it. So people get confused because they're like, hey, it only says this, but you have to realize what we're trying to do is to show the intent. And that's what we did. And by showing that intent, we're able to put it on the affidavit, get it certified, and then attach it to the passport. And then what are they going to do? Say that the republics don't exist? Because they do. That's what the republics have to exist for the union to be here. So that's why every state has its own constitution. So I know a lot of people have had that question. And if anyone was ever wanting that answer, there you go. That's it.
So that is, see, I like when I read things, but I like when you explain things because I learned a lot of this stuff from you. So I almost feel like, hearing you affirm what I'm saying, it's like the sweat that is running down my back right now, I hope it stops. Like I feel better knowing you affirm these things.
That's fun.
All right, so listen, you have the section that starts with everything IRS.
Yeah. That's all right, what I got.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a drum. I can't do a drum roll because my mouth is kind of dry because I'm hungry. But this is going to be, I want you to really pay attention. The next 40, 45 minutes or so is going to be a re-education on the IRS, taxes, citizens, and really gets into the meat and potatoes of what we did to remove ourselves from that process. So without further ado, Kenneth.
So You want me to just read the highlighted portions? Or you want the whole
No,
thing?
I highlighted those portions for me because I was taking notes on things at the time. You can just read right through it if you want. Like I said, so this is a compilation of information I put together. This Everything IRS based on some research and studying I was doing going back to like 4 and 5 years ago. So you don't have to run through all of it if you don't want. I think it'd be beneficial for everyone to hear it.
I mean, I really like the history that's in the other one, dude. I
So
feel
do
like
the other one.
Let's if we put the history to show people.
Oh,
Do most
understanding
people
the history?
know like how the IRS actually started? Like this.
All right, so do that one.
All right.
Do that one
Let's
instead.
go,
Because
let's
what I
go.
want to do, Kenny, and again, I have printed up the revocation of election to pay taxes. I printed that up because that, again, I know we've talked about this. We talked about it in the meeting last night. That was the first thing I ever completed before I even met you, started going through your process. So I wanted to touch on that just because that is a real thing. But Kenny, more importantly, that revocation paper, I'll go through this one afterwards. The reason I printed this up is that redacted document that I sent you last night that was blacked out. That where the IRS actually said, yes, we've received your revocation.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that and then show that blacked out document.
Yeah, that's
All
pretty
right.
cool. I think that's good. I mean, it's all a part of it. So how it actually started was, federal income tax was only for federal employees. That's the way it was started. And so what our government did is they got us all to co-sign on because they wanted us to volunteer and match the federal taxes. So the territorial United States Congress set up a victory tax program, which patriotic Americans could volunteer and have an amount equal to the tax paid by federal employees deducted from their take-home pay and put towards the war effort. So this is how they got all the Americans all pumped up. But let me guess, how many people listening to this were alive back then? None, right? And if they are, they're not, like, nobody's paying attention in their group. They're over there just doing whatever the man's saying on TV.
I found, and I'll put the link when I edit and put the show up, but I did find a link that goes all very deep dive into the victory tax and the problems that presented on its own and how we were tricked with that victory tax.
For sure.
Yeah.
It says we signed up by the millions. But even though the Second World War ended September 1945, the end date on the victory tax legislation simply set the end date as the end of hostilities. And that gave us into perpetual states of war because they're like, yeah, fuck this. We're just going to keep.
Which, by the way, do you want to tell them what the American flag that we all think, what it actually represents?
So it represents war. It's the American war flag. We do have a civil peace flag, which I made a pretty cool video about it, but it actually started from, they're called the Sons of Liberty. Mm-hmm. And the Sons of Liberty, there was one of the guys that was trying to collect for England, and he was trying to collect the new tax, 2% or whatever. They strung him up and they hung him for it in front of everybody, and that was their flag. And I know it's supposed to be a peace flag, but that's.
I forgot. Sorry, folks. I forgot this new laptop is a touchscreen, and I just hit the stop button on the screen on accident. So halftime's over. Go ahead, Kenny.
Okay, so their flag had the vertical stripes instead of the horizontal stripes, and that's kind of where they got the idea to create that civil peace flag. And so what they did is they started to fly the civil peace flag back in the day to show the difference from military installations to civil installations, and also those who wanted to stand up for their constitutional rights. So it was a symbol of not just peace, but also constitutional freedom. So a lot of people didn't know that. But I mean, when I found that, I was like, wow, I had never heard that, because the only story I was told was very different than that. But it takes a little bit of digging, especially, using multiple search engines. It's the only way to find.
It's very arduous, but it's out there.
So the takeaway: Americans wanted, our country to do well in the war. So we were all happily volunteered to pay the victory tax, equal to what federal employees were paying. The expectation was that this tax would end at the end of the war, but the victory tax legislation simply set the date as the end. So they never completed it nor amended it since it was created, and it's been there ever since. So the victory war tax, that's what created the federal income tax, guys. And why the fuck are we still at war funding Ukraine, right? I mean, if people really look at what the government's supposed to be doing, why are people starving? Why are vets starving? Why do we have homelessness? Why is our government allowed to send $1 away having a constitutional oath to their people,
Yeah.
and they're able to funnel money other places. It's
When you realize the victory tax started all this,
Mhm.
you can quickly kind of surmise that, oh, that must be why we're constantly getting involved in wars and invading people,
Exactly.
because it's a justification to keep stealing from us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's all a part of it. You have to think that once you get to the bottom of this rabbit hole, this is a long game that's been played out for quite a long time. And
Decades, yes.
we're just waking up to it, you know? Everyone's just kind of like realizing like, oh wow. It's like when Neo wakes up in that pod and he's like, oh, Morpheus wasn't bullshitting.
I think we all just collectively thought that we're the big bad United motherfucking States. This wouldn't happen here.
Yeah.
Freedom, fucking Clydesdales,
Dude.
Budweiser, fireworks, boobs, monster trucks. Like nobody was paying attention, and this was the rug was pulled right out from underneath us.
Dude, totally. I agree. Yeah. I mean, so how Americans get stuck agreeing and contracting and unknowingly agree to voluntarily pay federal taxes. So this is how it works. Once the unsuspecting Americans sign a 1040 under penalty of perjury stating they are withholding agents, another juicy provision kicks in as well. A withholding agent is a warrant officer in the Queen's Merchant Marine Service. You are now unwittingly sworn under penalty of perjury that you are one. Even though any of that about the Queen's and the withholding agent, this is what I do know about that. You do waive your Fifth Amendment right to sign that 1040. They can say all day, no, you don't. It's voluntary. It's voluntary. Bullshit. If I sign my name on that 1040, it says under penalty of perjury. I'm telling you, anybody out there, if you're ever signing something under penalty of perjury, you're waiving your Fifth Amendment right, because that means whatever you're signing under penalty of perjury can be used against you. So you don't have a Fifth Amendment right where it says penalty of perjury. It doesn't work like that. So whenever you're signing these documents under penalty of perjury, you're essentially waiving your Fifth Amendment right. So you can either sign the 1040 or have the Fifth Amendment, but you can't have both. And that's the big deception. And that's what a lot of people have been exposing for a long, long time. Like they've been exposing that for forever. I forget that guy's name. I think it's Aaron Russo. He might have said it wrong, but he questioned one of the IRS commissioners on there and did him good. And the IRS commissioner literally couldn't answer. He just had to like bullshit around and lie and do a bunch of like legalese jargon, but never could ever answer. Is it Eric Russo or Aaron? I think it's Aaron Russo, but yeah.
I think it's Aaron.
I think it is too. He did really good, but yeah, so that's what it comes down to. It comes down to a way that they found to tax us, to create perpetual states of war, and to get us to sign over our rights under penalty of perjury, voluntary. So it's just like a deception. I mean, if you look at it, if you put it as a whole and you see how much deception is playing out, I wonder who's behind this. Who the fuck is this deceptive? I'm just curious. Like, what are they behind closed doors doing? The ones who did all this, what do they do behind closed doors in their clubs?
You know what question I ask myself all the time is, if we've all been asleep at the wheel for this long, and this was your plan, why not just use force to get to where you want to be? That's the part I really can't wrap my brain around. I don't know if it's just better if it's done through like voluntary coercion, or if you need us on some level to want this. I can't. Although I'm not a psychopath and a eugenicist, so I don't think that way. But that gets me all the time. What has prevented you up until this point to just taking what you want? I
think that's how they used to do it, and I think they've just learned and advanced. I mean, even the Sun Tzu Art of War is where you infiltrate. You don't even have to invade. You subdue your enemies. You don't have to you don't have to fight that way anymore. They used to, but now it's a different tactic. I think that's exactly how they used to do it. And they're like, these slaves ain't working so well. They figure it out. They get together. It's like they cause too much stuff. We wake up. If they do it slowly like this, half of the slaves are going to fucking fight us, dude. Just like the Matrix.
Yeah, that and the other thing, to piggyback off what you just said, because I agree with that's a good point. This is how they manufacture these crises, so they can usher in these policies to make it look like they're doing us a favor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, there is an all-out direct attack. The difference is it's not like on one country, except like what's happening over there in Israel. That is a direct attack. But if you look at it in like that thing that everybody had to get. That's an
thing-
attack on all of the human
Yes.
race, the whole humanity. Everyone got it. I mean, and I'm pretty sure like all of Israel got that thing. They all got that shot. So
They
everybody
had
has
the
that.
most highly. They were the most highly vaccinated population.
That might be why they're taking orders so easily to do, atrocities and shit. But
I mean, listen, it's very. We all know now. After it's been several years, we know now what it does to your DNA. So
Yeah.
they and Elon Musk talked about this, programming people like computers and phones. So
he wasn't bullshitting, I guess.
no, he was not. He was not.
But that's what I think. I think it's attack on all humanity. You have multiple things, though, multiple fronts. It's not just that. It's also the thing in the skies, with the geoengineering, and then now we have like all the weather modification for the floods. Floods are really bad worldwide. Like they tore everybody up. They didn't give no one no breaks. Even while the fires were happening in LA, they were flooding the shit out of other countries at the same time. They didn't give a damn. It was like
It's
burning down.
amazing that LA's burning down, yet the ocean is right there. I don't know if
And they run out of water. Isn't that crazy? Even like in Maui, he's like, we don't have enough water. I was like, we have to be freaking brain dead to believe
on
this
an island.
asshole. He's
You're
on an
surrounded.
island. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? And they get away with this, dude. I feel like they get away with this bloody murder just because I don't know. Like, is it so easy that they control the TV and that's all it takes to really control us? Like, is it that simple? Because man, it's really sad. My family, I don't know if you know this, Steve. My family and I spent an entire week, day and night. We worked, meaning 13-hour days, and we created instructions. We pulled all the data. We had a picture of the map of Lahaina, and we put an affidavit as if I was there. And on the map, they could mark where they saw the roads blocked, and they could write their story. And it had all this stuff to file a criminal complaint. Now, if we would have got enough of them to do it, we could have proved that the actual police chief, Pelletier, that he blocked enough roads to be cause criminal intent, and then they could have them arrested. But we could never get the documents to the people. And I tried. I had a girl that was driving over there from my island to her island to Lahaina, and I took her the documents. I told her, tell everyone over there, like, I'll fly over there, whatever it takes. Let's get this information out. And I had one for each one of them. I had one for the siren guy. I had one for the water guy. And I had one for Pelletier. I had all three. And they could literally filled it out. And as a collective, if those people would have came together, they could literally had all those people arrested. And only two things. There was only two options that could have happened, Steve. All the people would have realized that their government's so corrupt that they won't even hold these corrupt bastards accountable. Or two, they would have been like, oh shit, everybody filed these complaints. We have to do something. And no shit, as soon as I was making videos about that, you know who showed up over there in Lahaina? It was, oh man, what's his name? That fucking guy. He pretends to be a good, God, I can't even remember his name now.
The Rock?
No, it's not The Rock. It's he's like a whistleblower, and he has his own like media company. And
O'Keefe?
Yes.
James O'Keefe.
So he showed up, bro. That dude's straight up Masonic. Nobody knows this type of stuff. This is that undercover where they put the good guy in to pretend he's good, and then he exposes shit. But James O'Keefe had the data on what was inside the Pfizer thing, and he didn't put it out. He's a fucking fraud. Don't listen to those people. They're all like that too. If you see someone in the front, like Joe Rogan, oh, I'm here doing all this, and he did really great shit. And then what does he do? Oh, when the fires come, it's going to just burn all the way down. Now they're using him to promote propaganda when everybody knows there's more going on. When you see a melted house next to a tree, and then he has like Zuck the Suck on there, and he's like, oh, now he's a good guy. I get these are just controllers. These are the handlers, and this is how they handle the side piece information. They're to control mainstream. Now they want to control the side stream of information, and that's just how they do it.
What pisses me off is that Joe Rogan even gave fucking Mark Zuckerberg a platform to talk. Like, fuck you, kid. Fuck you. Fuck you.
You see Joe Rogan wearing wigs. Like, he gets a part of those humiliation rituals. I'm going to make a video showing all the different Masonic leaders because I have a folder with all these fuckers in it. and I save all their bullshit when I catch them doing their rituals because they have to. When they get these contracts, they have to do these rituals. And they're easy to catch because, like, why is that bald-ass dude wearing a pink wig, or a yellow wig? Like, what's the point of that? That's a humiliation ritual.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, and then he's there with like Anton LaVey's grandson, which is the founder of the Satanic
Church
Bible.
of Satan.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
is he there with him? And he's all like fucking throwing up the 666s and stuff, and they're just all in on it. So people have to really be careful whenever you're having these heroes. Yeah. So James O'Keefe showed up, and you know what happened? Nobody gave a shit. People were like, "Oh, it's good, don't even worry about it." I was like, "Girl, this dude's a part of it. If he showed up, there's something going on." And it seems like he distracted any little bit of attention that was going, because if those people would have got together, oh my gosh, it could have done something. But it never got out. And we literally spent 13 hours, 7 days straight. Me and Gwen, we did it together. Boom, 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 boom. We've compiled all the shit. We had everything. We had the affidavits. We had everything ready. Like literally, all they had to do was put their personal data and then just file it. It was ready to be notarized, and it was ready, dude. And they could have got charged, all three of them. Crazy, right?
It's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
But you do it out of your heart. You don't do it because, you get some fucking reward. Oh, here's a hero reward. Here you go. Kenny and Gwen, y'all are heroes. No, we're not. We're just doing our job. You feel obligated in the heart, you do it. And that's what we're here for. Just like you. Like, you're not doing this if you didn't feel obligated in the heart. Just like you said, this is more than just like paperwork or finances. It's a spirit. There's something about this right now. And there really is, because in the next 5 years.
Meeting last night, was it Naomi was asking me, what do I charge individuals to this? I don't charge anybody. Look, if I was in a situation financially where I needed the money, where I was trying to replace my income, that would be a different story. And this. I don't, what I make a little bit of money off the book that we like the traveling and the private, you know what I mean? Like I don't charge people for phone calls, emails. I tell you guys, so as your lead educator, I'm out there, I'm trying to do whatever I can, and I'm fielding a lot of calls, emails, things like that. But I'm doing it not because I'm benefiting financially. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. I have this knowledge that I know can help my friends, my family, my community to teach these things. It's just I feel obligated. Didn't I quote Spider-Man last night? With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, because you have all that knowledge in your head. That's
but that's what I mean. Like I feel like this is right where I'm supposed to be. And again, I think it's for that reason. I'm not concerned about any kind of blowback or any agencies coming after me. I'm such low hanging fruit. You know what I mean? Like I'm completely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, they're too busy worrying about who they're going to burn down next. I don't think they really care about us, to be honest.
I don't think so either. All right, where are we at over here?
We got lost. We're on the perpetrators, the fat tax revenue. This fraud of the matrix. Let's see what else this thing has to say. I like the beginning of it.
Which one are you looking at? I'm looking at this one here, the understanding the history of taxes.
Yeah, it might be that one. I'm on like the 4th page of it. Actually, does mine have? Yeah, that's where I'm at, but I'm on the 4th page.
All right.
I was just like getting to the fourth page of it all.
I was scrolling
out.
I was too busy shutting the show off on accident.
Let's see. Where's a good part to lead back into? So, thus, what started out as a good faith effort by Americans to help the Second World War became an instrument of oppression and false imprisonment, the likes of which the world seldom seen since the days of ancient Egypt. Since 1941, the Territorial Internal Revenue Service and the municipal IRS have pillaged and wantonly plundered the earnings and assets of millions of Americans who never held any kind of federal job.
I want to point something out. Hold on, before you take another word. Right before we hopped on this meeting, I was watching Redacted on YouTube, and the wife had mentioned, they were talking about the IRS. She said, you work until May every year for free because of the IRS. They were literally just talking about this. So January, February, March, April, May. And we've talked about this.
5 months.
5 months out of the year, you're working for free because of
That's
taxes.
slavery.
That's exactly what it is.
How have we not seen this? Like, it is so crazy. You know what blows my mind is how did we not see this? Like, does
anybody remember why we went to war in the first place? The Boston Tea Party, like 2% tax on tea.
Yeah.
And now they're taking 40% of your pay every week. It's a scam, and we all just sat back and let it happen. Happen. There's no deal.
That's why it's legal. It's because we've allowed it. So
Yes.
the key to winning is divide the people and remove the education. Because if you get them to accept it, well, that's how a constitutional republic works. The people are the deciding factors. So they're supposed to elect in their officials, but at the same time, when their elected officials don't uphold the rule of law, the people who put them in pull their asses back out. Well, here we got the problem where nobody knows and everybody's fighting, and they just keep screwing us, and we just keep getting screwed harder. I'm like,
Kenny, do me a favor. On that page, I just realized what was down below on that page.
Okay.
You see where it says, so you say there must be a remedy to this gross injustice. We were just talking about the remedy. If nothing else, the rats must have left an out for themselves. You see that where I'm reading?
No.
The page that you were just on, about 3/4 of the way down.
Did I just lose my spot?
Don't worry about it.
Bro.
I'll do it.
You do it. I
right.
can't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just blind, bro.
No, it's just, as you're talking, I was looking at the page and I'm like, oh shit, remedy. And we were just talking about this. So this is the remedy that we were just discussing. So going back to the history that Kenny was reading before, it says, so you say that there must be a remedy to this gross injustice. If nothing else, these rats must have left an out for themselves. So, and there is a remedy. So let me go over the step by step. So number one, if you are not a federal employee or dependent and not operating in the capacity of a federal franchise corporation, you can revoke your election to pay federal income taxes that you never owed in the first place. Well, I'm stuttering today. Now, that revocation is what I'm going to go over with you in a minute, called the revocation of election to pay taxes. But I want to continue reading this other page first.
Yeah.
Number two.
I did find it. It was literally right.
Stop, really? We should take the show on the road. Number two, all you have to do is send a registered letter, return receipt requested, to the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, the Territorial Commissioner, and the Commissioner of the IRS on the municipal side, and inform them of your decision to revoke your election to pay federal income taxes and setting an effective date for the revocation. Now, let me tell you what I did. And again, this is Kenny, about a year and a half before I met you. To these two individuals, the IRS commissioner for the territorial and the municipal, I sent legal affidavits to the IRS. I forget which is which. I think municipal was in New York. I served them a legal affidavit telling them I was revoking my status, my election to pay taxes. And then I sent another one to Washington, D.C. So I covered both municipal and territorial. I can't remember if I sent one to the treasurer in Puerto Rico, but it's irrelevant. You don't need to. So I actually completed this step right here before I ever met Kenny and his family. And I'm going to show you something that we received back when I submitted them for my wife in response. I never heard back from the IRS at all. My wife received 3 letters. I'm going to read one of them to you afterwards. So where it says here, you choose the date. So I dated mine back 10 years. So the day I brought it and sent it registered mail, I went back to October 1st of 10 years prior, 22, whatever it was. So I basically said everything in that 10-year time frame, I'm not responsible for. I've discovered the fraud. I'm not giving you anything. So I chose to do a 10-year back date. Now, it's just a little bit of advice. This last bit can be a bit tricky as they keep changing the dates of their own fiscal years so as to trap unwary people with a few months of unaccounted for income that may have been left hanging, which they then use to prosecute the victim. It used to be July 1st was the beginning of the federal fiscal year for all departments and agencies. Then some agencies began using October 1st as the beginning of the fiscal year. So they're trying to set a trap for you because this is not an uncommon thing now. I forget the data. I looked this up and I wish I had written it down or saved it, but I actually looked up, like, on average, how many people have revoked their election to pay taxes. There's somewhere around 8 to 10 million people who currently work and do not file income taxes in this country. So my advice would be to set the effective date a year and a half or 2 years prior to any current tax year. Again, I went back 10 years. I would make the effective date July 1st. It just goes over, like, if you're staying within that time frame. I chose to go back 10 years. Why? Because fuck you, IRS. That's why. For those who haven't filed in a few years, for whatever reasons, you can revoke election to pay retroactively for up to 10 years, so long as you have not filed any of those years. The bottom line is that if you aren't a federal employee or a dependent and aren't operating as a federal franchise corporation, as a result, you never owe the income tax in the first place. Next question states, but what about the congressional acts that tax Social Security income of retirees? The territorial United States Congress and its acts have no authority related to an American standing on dry land. That's for starters. Secondly, the only portion or percentage of Social Security income that can be taxed would be the portion derived from actual federal employment. So I've had this question come up several times. What about when you collect Social Security? That is not going to be taxed. It should not be getting taxed.
No, I'm pretty sure that they're going to do a couple of good things to help, like
Kenny, keep talking. I'm going to grab that letter that they sent Brianna. I forgot to stack it together.
Well, they're going to do things coming up that are supposed to be beneficial to us. And so one of the things is they're not supposed to be taxing people for everybody, even if you're national or not, that has to do with Social Security. The second thing, I think they're going to get rid of the IRS as a part of it, but they're going to implement something much worse. But, you know, that's just how they do it. They implement something you think is good, and then they get you all pumped up. And it's like, oh, digital currency. But I think they get rid of the IRS anyways, coming up.
I think
we'll
so,
find
too.
out in these next 4 years how it's going to play out. But I think they are. So. Hey, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so Kenny, I'm going to get into the piece where I had that discussion last week. Okay, so the validation that a lot of people are looking for, a confirmation, so to speak, is I had the luxury of having several conversations via email and phone calls last week with a gentleman who works in the tax industry in my state of Rhode Island. He was a guest on the Zoom show I did with the Men of War Crucible a little over a week ago. So I'm going to read to you some of the messages that me and this individual shared. And again, this is his area of expertise. I'm not a I'm not a CPA. I'm not a tax individual. I'm not a bookkeeper. This guy does most of those things. So he said, Steve, firstly, as you know, since you work in Massachusetts, you pay state taxes to just the state you work in. So I live in Rhode Island. I work in Massachusetts. I looked at my pay stub. I don't pay Rhode Island income taxes. I pay mine to the state that I earn the wages in, which is Massachusetts. So the way the Rhode Island 1040 works is they calculate your Rhode Island tax based on federal wages reported on the W-2. And then whatever taxes you incurred from working in another state, being Massachusetts, Rhode Island then issues you a credit on their return so that you do not pay taxes twice. You therefore file a non-resident Massachusetts return to pay their Mass taxes and a Rhode Island resident return to report credited out on the Rhode Island return. So they're basically telling me I can credit myself in Rhode Island what I'm paying in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Now, I want to back up a bit. For the past several years, I have not paid federal income taxes. I have paid state income taxes. So does my wife. So this gentleman really opened up my eyes to a few things. So at first I thought that you shouldn't have to file and pay the Mass return either, since this is also an income tax, but I just did a little bit of digging and found out that Massachusetts is not a piggyback state. What he's referring to, something else he taught me, Rhode Island is what they call a piggyback state. So if you are exempt from federal income taxes, you are also exempt from state income taxes. I was unaware of this, Kenny. I'm not sure if you were aware of this.
No clue.
Never heard of this.
Not a CPA.
So this to me, coming from a professional, a tax professional, man, I got like it was like butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, first of all, it's validation that this process is real, but also that I can keep more of my money. So let me continue. Master. So he goes, I need to get some clarification on how we can remove you from paying the Massachusetts taxes. He says, I'll get back to you shortly. Long story short, he texted me or emailed me 2 days later. He does have a way for me to stop paying the Massachusetts state taxes. Per the Constitution, now these are his words. Per the Constitution, we should not be paying taxes on our labor anywhere, except, and this is per the Constitution, if you are a resident inside the 10 square miles of D.C. What have we been saying?
Exactly.
Now, or any of the territories, or have unknowingly acquiesced into the 14th Amendment federal zone system like we have all of our lives. which made us DC citizens regardless of where we physically lived. This goes back into another topic we mentioned on an old show. When you do the four corners rule around your zip code, you're removing yourself from the federal jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I'm really shocked at how much of this I remember because I've had quite a few concussions. But anyway, that was the end of that text. Then he...
That's all from a tax professional, guys. Just so everybody knows. This isn't Joe Schmo.
This is someone who does corporate tax liability. This is what he's a bookkeeper. This is what he does for a profession. Now, I'm not going to put his name out, but I am going to meet with him and some of his colleagues on Saturday to have a meeting. And what I would like to do is I'd like to get him, even if he wanted to come on the show anonymously or something like that, we could just do like a show without the video, so to speak. But I'd like to have him come on. I'd like to have him come on live to do a live show with him and field some phone calls.
That's cool.
That would be kind of fun. But I have to talk to him about this first.
Yeah.
So this was more of the text message between us. He said, when we get together, now I went through my state national process the correct way with Kenny and his ministry. This gentleman, before we met, had gone through under somebody else's tutelage, but I opened his eyes to a lot of things as he did to me. So he said, when we get together, I can gain clarity on your opting out procedure because as we know it to be, the remedy is just to not file any forms, whether it be a W-4, W-9, 1099, and then you're out of the system of paying taxes. We don't know how to remove a person if they are an employee of a corporation, though. This is where I was able to educate him.
I know.
So it is intriguing to learn this from you. For us, not filing works best if you run your own business. If the government comes after us for not filing, we have learned that we just need to have paperwork that proves we are not in their jurisdiction. Therefore, as an example, now that I have my passport and certified documents that I gave to the U.S. Department of State to process my passport application, as they state, I am not a 14th Amendment citizen of their United States. And I stated that I am a citizen of my country of Rhode Island. I am a Rhode Islander, and I am a part of the de jure union of the states. Then if I show them the IRS or the Rhode Island Division of Taxation, my certified documents that the Department of State accepted to issue me this passport, then I am legally not required to file and pay their taxes since I am not in their jurisdiction.
That's why people have to be a state national. From that statement right there says
Correct.
Everything you need to hear. Because if you take your affidavit and you claim your nationality of the Republic, like you for the Rhode Island, he's a Rhode Islander, right? Not only that, he removes the consent from the corruption.
Correct.
He takes that affidavit, he goes down to the county clerk, he gets it certified. So now he has a certified copy that has a Rhode Island state seal on it. He takes that state seal, he goes to the passport office, they attach that to the document, and the State Department accepts it. Well, that's it.
The federal government has removed you from federal jurisdiction at that
They
point.
accepted it. They would have to arrest you for your affidavit saying, you little traitor. They'd have to do something, and they can't. They can't because it's all truthful what you have in your affidavit.
So what I want to do, there's two more pieces I want to just read through real quick.
Okay.
And again, this is text messages between him and me. I'm reading what he wrote. According to the Supreme Court writings, there are like 3 different United States, the 14th Amendment, DC one, and the bank applications, jury duty, registration, pretty much anything. And when it says United States citizen, it really means you are a citizen of DC, the 10 square miles, and its territories.
That's what it means.
So we send in an explanatory statement to these institutions like the bank, jury, Department of State for passport, declaring that we are not that United States citizen. So other people who promote this process, they'll talk about like an explanatory statement when they submit their documents to the IRS. He's affirming this. He's literally telling you that is the proper process.
Yeah, because that's what they leave. They leave a little explanatory statement for you to add stuff in there.
So this is the last piece that we had exchanged. He said he learned from Dave Champion, and I'm going to give you the website is Dr. Reality. So DRREALITY.news. He says, I learned from Dave Champion, drreality.news, in simplest terms for right now, that the only person required to file a 1040 is the person who lives abroad and earns money from the United States. David Champion says that it is the this is the premise on why 99.9% of Americans living here do not have to file. He doesn't care about the 14th Amendment, the DC jurisdiction argument. However, we have assembled a plan of action to utilize both arguments,
That's
champions and the DC jurisdiction. So now you have two layers of protection,
Yeah, I like
which
that.
provides future protection from two angles. And then he just goes on to say, I'm looking forward to learning more from what you did, and I need to read the State Nationals Rock site to be better prepared for our meeting. So anyway, I'm meeting with him and other professionals from his office this Saturday. Now, I want to bring up, before I get into, Kenny, did you print up the revocation, the ROE packet or no?
I didn't get that
That's
one.
fine. That's
I don't
fine.
think
I'll
I
read
got
it. It's totally fine. I don't know if I'm going to go through the whole thing. I might, but what I want to point out
I
is
might.
he just walked you through the process, validating everything we were just educating you all on.
Yeah.
Now, I want to point something out, Kenny. I need to share my screen real quick and pull something
Let's
up.
see.
Bear with me 1 second. That is an
Bet.
official letter from the IRS acknowledging that somebody sent in a revocation of election to pay taxes, basically saying, okay, your account's done. There's nothing more you have to do on your end. You're out.
That's what it says, literally.
All right. Now, I sent mine in. I sent an affidavit to the IRS commissioner in DC and in Manhattan, New York, whatever. Never heard back. I waited until those documents were unrebutted, had them notarized, put them on public record. I recorded them in court. Now, a year or so later, when I put my wife through the process, I sent in the same affidavit that I sent in. I heard back from the IRS 3 times. I want you to pay attention to what I just read to you and what they said in this one. They sent this letter to us 3 times. First of all, right in the heading, Dear Taxpayer. Like, we previously sent you, so this was the second one they sent. We previously sent you a letter about your inquiry received September 11th, 2023. Although we try to respond quickly, we often need additional time for research. We can't provide a complete response at this time because we need more time to provide you with a complete response to your inquiry. It wasn't an inquiry. It was a legal affidavit telling you to close the goddamn account. They sent that letter to my wife 3 times. It's been well over a year since I heard from them again. My suspicion is I'm not going to hear back from them again. So the reason I show this is the other form, they actually refer to it as the revocation of election. It is a real thing, okay? I sent in my packet. I sent in my wife's packet. This is just telling you, hey, they didn't say, what are you talking about? That's illegal. You're violating federal law. You can't do this. They're fucking asking for 60 more days to process my request.
Yeah.
It's a real thing, okay?
That's what they always say. Give me more days, 60, 90 days. Yeah.
So this is the actual an explanation of the revocation of election pay taxes. So I'm debating. I mean, it's like fucking. I mean, not that it's a big deal, but I don't know if I feel like reading.
I mean,
all right, let's. All right, I'm just going to run through it. Kenny, bear with me. Okay.
Let's go.
So what is a revocation of election, or otherwise known as an ROE? It is a legal process. Please listen to this part. A legal process established by the United States Congress that allows most state citizens to be classified by the IRS as legal non-taxpayers. This is from Congress. So when people ask me, I followed Congress's laws and I use the IRS's processes to remove myself from their jurisdiction. It's real. According to the IRS, in the IRS code, filing a revocation of election notice with the IRS allows about 99% of all state citizens to become non-taxable with no legal obligation to file a 1040 tax return or to pay any federal income taxes. This goes over quick about the Constitution. I won't get too deep into that. Here we go. If a state citizen, American national, does not work in a federal government job or reside in the District of Columbia or one of its territories or federal zones and is not involved in an excise taxable activity, said state citizen would not have to file a 1040 tax return form. Supreme Court and many other higher courts have ruled affirmatively on this issue, and Congress has passed legislation confirming this fact. This information is provided in your ROE documents. What that means is the affidavit that we put together. And Kenny, I sent you the detailed one last night, right? It was like 4 or 5 pages. It goes over all of this inside the legal affidavit. So you're protecting yourself, you're insulating yourself from legal recourse. American nationals and state citizens have the right to send the IRS a revocation of election document that effectively changes their tax status to that of a non-taxpayer. When the IRS receives your ROE and your 1040 tax status has been corrected, you are not required to file another 1040 tax return for any future years. You are effectively removed from the IRS's taxpayer database. Your ROE document essentially notifies the IRS that you wish to revoke your previous election to volunteer to be treated like a taxpayer. Anyone who has ever filed a Form 1040 has inadvertently elected to volunteer to be treated as though they are a taxpayer, despite all the laws and court rulings that say state citizens and American state nationals are not liable for federal income tax if they are not receiving income from a source from a federal government job in D.C., not domiciled in D.C. or any of its territories. The IRS will continue to think you are a taxpayer that is still obligated to volunteer under their contract to file a tax return until you give them notice of your desire to stop volunteering. The ROE documents serve this purpose. You cannot just stop filing without first revoking your previous taxable status. So this is where I think, and Kenny, I'm sure you get these questions too. A lot of people ask, well, why do people get arrested and go to jail if they stop paying taxes? They're telling you right here, because until you sever said contract, you're violating a contractual obligation.
Yes, and you have the unlimited ability to contract according to the Constitution. So with that ability comes responsibility. And if you contract unknowingly, hey, you're not allowed to be ignorant of the law. No, all Americans, you better know the law because they don't catch, you don't get no breaks. That's just how it works. But, you know, we didn't really do the ROE, Steve. We have a different process and do the same thing.
They do.
It's longer, but we, you know, when Steve showed it in that letter, we've had so many people ask. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to put it up as a free download for people. So if people want to add that ROE in there, because we've had people so many times, and I always tell them, you know, we have a different process. It's really cool. It's a little bit longer, but it's the same thing. You reestablish a new fiduciary relationship between you and the IRS, and you tell them no more contract, nothing. It's done.
But Ken, here's the beauty of this. This is the way I'm looking at it.
I like it. I'm not against it at all.
I look at it as another layer of protection.
I think so too. I think it's good.
On every imaginable level, I have notified the IRS, all of the proper commissioners, all the proper channels. You've all been notified that I am out. So I don't really know, and I guess this will be a more of an in-depth conversation on Saturday when I meet with this individual. But like I said, that was the kind of the meat and potatoes of this. I'm going to take these 7 pages, and when I post the video, what I might do, if I'm going to do screenshots, I'll include this. Or do you want to? Can you take this ROE explanation and make that a free download too, like the actual explanation that I sent you?
Yeah. Which one's the explanation?
This one. It's in the email I sent you.
I'll have to check. I can put both of them. Yeah, I can put anything in the download. So
what I'm thinking is, if you're gonna put the revocation, the actual affidavit, as a free download, right?
Yeah.
Stick this in there with it.
Okay, it's the one that says understanding the history of the taxes.
No. It's in the email. It says, "What is a revocation of election?"
Okay. No, yeah, I'll put that with it, of course.
Just put them together, and then I'm going to find a way to attach it to. Maybe I'll put a hyperlink to it when I post the video.
Okay.
So people can download it there too. But like I said, I don't want to sit there and read 7 pages to you, but that is the gist of it. And then it just goes into, when I tell you, extravagant detail about what that is and the importance of it. And it occurred to me that, you know, when I was on that Zoom call with the Meta War Crucible, somebody had asked me about, well, what happened with Wesley Snipes? And again, I think this is one of those situations where he just didn't pay taxes. But if you filed at any point in your life until you sever that contract and send in your self-explanatory statement showing that you're out.
I know something about that most people don't know. Okay. So with Wes, yeah.
Because he's black?
The guy, no. You're crazy. No, Wesley Snipes fucking, the same lawyer that did Wesley Snipes' case is the same one that did the IRS whistleblower, Joseph Bannister. Now, what I also saw is that they were investigating the lawyer because he was putting out a packet that was like this. This is what I saw. And he got he got silenced real quick because he was putting stuff out like this. And I think they went after him because they found that he was paying Joseph Bannister, and they wanted to know why he was paying Joseph Bannister. You know, he's Joseph's attorney, but why is the attorney sending money the other way? Like,
no shit.
What did he teach him that is now causing the lawyer to pay Bannister? So I found all that stuff, and I was like really impressed with these guys. Well, that tax attorney, his name's Bernhoff Law out of Boston. You can find Wesley Snipes' case if you look up Bernhoff Law. You'll find Wesley Snipes, and you can find Joseph Bannister's. Yeah, both of them, and it's really cool. He is essentially a tax protester too, as a lawyer, and he doesn't focus on that now because they went after him. They didn't get him, but they went after him, and you got to wonder, he actually got a felony dismissed on an IRS whistleblower, and they're trying to take this guy down and silence him, just like they did, Sherry Jackson.
The fucking machine is so corrupt.
It's so corrupt. And Sherry Jackson, God. I'm telling you, she's a fucking patriot. She's a freaking hero. If people knew, she has more balls than half the Americans because she stood up to the corrupt machine and had no fear. And yeah, they did wash her out because, imagine, you're this fiery woman and then they take 5 years or 4 years of your life for a misdemeanor.
Yeah, seriously.
She was charged with the misdemeanor, but because she was teaching it and she worked at the IRS, so she's very detailed, very, organized. And so that's why they took her out. But it just shows that if Bernhoff Law was out putting out tax protesting like stuff, it was like a packet, probably like a ROE and something like that. It's legit. It's just they try to silence every big voice. But now as the tyranny comes, as we see our money going overseas, like who wants to support this? Nobody. Everybody's so fed up. That's the only reason we even have this space to speak is because corruption is so rampant, bro. Like we wouldn't even be up here. We'd be enjoying our damn life if they weren't trying to burn us down right now, And
No, I listen. I have the mindset that you can't arrest everybody. You cannot arrest everybody. This is why I think it's imperative that more and more people jump on board with this, because the more of us there are, the harder it is to silence everybody. Yeah. So I just, we'll see how things play out. But I think I've been dying to do this episode, dying. And again, there's a lot of stuff that we're not even discussing. But besides, if you want all of our secrets, don't forget to go to statenationalsrock.com, sign up. Become part of the family. Yeah, join our monthly meetings. I'm telling you, it is just knowledge upon knowledge. And you get my sense of humor. So it's like a comedy show at the same time. So, yeah. All right, listen, I'm going to wrap it up there for tonight. I think that's enough for people to absorb. That's a lot of information.
For sure.
So what we'll do is we got just a couple of steps in the process left to kind of go over. And then after that, we'll start doing a deep dive into actually by that time Trump will be in office. We should start going over what he does the first couple of days with the executive orders.
I have a folder. It's called Trump's Promises.
All right, good. So I think the next episode I'll start putting that together this week. So next Tuesday, which by the way, I told you we canceled our trip to DC, right?
Bro, you can go get blown up over there.
But that is exactly why. I'm like, you know what? I just don't. Everything's been very quiet, minus California. Which, by the way, I want to point something out and talk about spirituality. What was it? The Academy Awards or something the night before? They mocked Jesus Christ. The next day, California goes up in flames. People, just shut the fuck up. Just take your wood, sit down, shut up. Like, stop mocking Christ. It's not working out for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't.
Hey, what do I know? I'm just a non-tax-paying, ugly 5'7" weightlifter in Rhode Island. What do I know?
You're funny. That's why we like Steve. You're tripping. That's funny.
All right, go enjoy your night, everyone. Thank you so much from the SNR podcast. Peace. We appreciate it. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Peace out.
This has been the SNR Podcast, where freedom for the mind, body, and soul takes center stage. Our goal is to break down the system and expose the truth, and to give you tools to heal, like meditation and breath work. And at the center of it all, we're having a blast. On behalf of Kenny, Steve, Ashley, and Gwendolyn, we thank you so much for coming over, and we hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But learn how to find us over on Linktree at State Nationals Rock. See you next time on the SNR Podcast.